The sound of Derek Hastings' hand connecting with Claire Donovan's face echoed across the crystal-lit dining room like a gunshot. 12 witnesses froze mid-champagne toast. Snow fell silently against the Fifth Avenue windows of the Sterling Hall, Manhattan's most expensive restaurant, while a billionaire CEO stood over a waitress he'd just called incompetent trash. His $8,000 suit dripped with $1,200 wine. Her cheek burned red where his palm had landed. Christmas Eve, 2024. The kind of moment that destroys lives, but whose life was about to shatter wasn't what anyone in that room expected. Claire's hand touched her face. The sting spread across her skin like fire. Her voice came out steady, controlled, almost soft. "I apologize for the accident, Mr. Hastings." She didn't know it yet, but those words would haunt him, because Claire Donovan wasn't just a waitress, and Derek Hastings had just slapped the one person in the world who could end him. The clock started ticking. He had 39 minutes of thinking he'd won. Kindly like this video and subscribe to the channel so you will not miss stories of hidden power and perfect justice. Your support is what keeps us going. Claire Donovan arrived at the Sterling Hall every afternoon at exactly 4 o'clock. She tied her black apron, checked her notepad, and walked into the dining room like she'd never owned anything more than the uniform on her back. The kitchen hummed behind swinging doors. Chefs shouted orders in 3 languages. Champagne corks popped every 15 minutes. The private dining rooms needed prep. Claire folded napkins into perfect swans. She polished crystal glasses until they caught the light from the chandeliers overhead. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, Fifth Avenue glowed with Christmas decorations. Inside, Manhattan's wealthy prepared to celebrate in the way only the wealthy could. Rosie Martinez watched Claire work from across the room. At 52, Rosie had been serving tables for 30 years. She'd seen every type of server come through those doors. Claire was different. "You're too smart for this job, honey," Rosie said, not for the first time. "I see it in how you read people." Claire smiled but didn't answer. Her sleeve shifted as she reached for another glass. A watch peeked out. Not the kind servers wore. The kind Wall Street executives wore. Patek Philippe. Worth more than most people's cars. Claire caught Rosie looking and pulled her sleeve down fast. "Family heirloom," she said. Rosie didn't push. Everyone had secrets. Claire kept a photo in her locker. In it, a younger version of herself stood on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. She was 34. Her hand gripped the hand of the exchange president. Behind them, her name blazed on the electronic board. Donovan Capital Group. That was 4 years, 3 months, and 17 days ago. Back then, Claire managed $600 million in institutional portfolios. She identified undervalued companies. She built investment strategies that made her clients wealthy. She had a corner office in Tribeca. She had a reputation. She had a partner named Marcus Webb who smiled when he stole $47 million and made it look like she'd done it. The media tore her apart. Federal investigators froze her accounts. Her clients abandoned her. She spent every dollar she had left on lawyers who barely believed her story. Marcus had been thorough. He'd doctored emails. He'd forged signatures. He'd built a paper trail that led straight to Claire's desk. It took 2 years to prove her innocence. By then, her reputation was ash. Nobody in finance would touch her. Her mother stopped calling. Her friends disappeared. So Claire Donovan, who once moved markets with a phone call, started serving them instead. She kept the watch because her father had given it to her the day she opened her firm. "Never forget where you came from," he'd said. She touched it sometimes when the weight of invisible became too heavy. She was still here. She'd survived worse than being ignored. Derek Hastings walked into the Sterling Hall at 7:30, wearing $15,000 on his back. His suit was custom. His Rolex Presidential caught every light in the room. He moved like a man who'd never been told no. He was 56, CEO of Hastings Global Technologies. The company's stock had climbed 34% that year. Tonight was celebration. His board members followed him into the private dining room. 12 people total. Executives and their spouses. All of them dressed like they owned the city. Derek pulled out his phone while his guests found seats. His wallpaper flashed for half a second. A young woman in a graduation cap and gown. His daughter. He swiped it away before anyone could see and opened his email instead. Claire appeared in the doorway. "Good evening. My name is Claire. I'll be taking care of you tonight." Derek didn't look up. He snapped his fingers. Water. No ice. Sparkling. Of course. He still didn't look at her. To men like Derek Hastings, servers weren't people. They were background noise. Furniture that moved and brought things when summoned. Claire had served him before. Once a month for 3 years. He never remembered her face. 90 minutes passed without incident. Claire moved through the room like air. She refilled glasses. She delivered courses. She smiled when spoken to and disappeared when ignored. Then her heel caught the carpet edge. The bottle of Chateau Margaux tilted. $1,200 worth of wine hit Derek Hastings' lap in a spreading crimson stain. The room went silent. Derek shot to his feet. Wine dripped from his suit. His face turned the color of the stain spreading across his pants. "You incompetent trash." Claire's hand shook. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Hastings. Let me. Don't touch me." He took a step toward her. His finger pointed at her face. "Do you have any idea what you've done? This suit cost more than you make in 6 months." Every person at the table froze. "I apologize," Claire said. Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. "It was an accident. I'll pay for the cleaning." "You'll pay?" Derek laughed. It wasn't a kind sound. "You'll be lucky if you're not paying a lawyer when I sue this dump." Gregory, the restaurant manager, appeared from nowhere. "Mr. Hastings, please, we'll cover all expenses. Dry cleaning, replacement suit, whatever you need." Derek ignored him. He stared at Claire. Then his hand moved. The slap echoed. Claire's head snapped to the side. Her cheek burned. Tears sprang to her eyes before she could stop them. The room gasped. Gregory grabbed Claire's arm. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Hastings. She's new. This won't happen again." Derek straightened his jacket. "You're right. It won't. Because she's fired. And I'll be calling my lawyers about Section 1542 liability. This restaurant is responsible." Claire's head came up. Her cheek throbbed. But her voice came out steady. "Section 1542 covers waiver of unknown claims and settlements. You mean Section 1512, which addresses negligence liability. And that requires proof of willful misconduct, not accidents." The room went quiet again. Different this time. Derek stared at her. "What did you say?" "Nothing, sir. My apologies." Claire turned to Gregory. "I'll collect my things." As Gregory pulled her toward the door, Derek's voice followed them. "Board meeting tomorrow. Christmas Day. 9 a.m. sharp. We'll discuss the lawsuit then." Claire heard him. She touched her watch under her sleeve. For years, 3 months, and 17 days. Tomorrow, Derek Hastings would learn what happened when you mistook service for weakness. Subscribe to see how patience becomes power. Gregory walked Claire to the locker room. His face was tight. "Go home, Claire. Let things cool down." "Am I fired?" "I don't know yet. Mr. Hastings is a very important client. Just go home. I'll call you tomorrow." Claire nodded. She waited until Gregory left. Then she sat on the bench in front of her locker and let her hand shake. The door opened. Rosie came in fast. "Let me see your face." Claire turned. The bruise was already forming, red and angry across her cheekbone. "That bastard." Rosie's voice went hard. "This isn't the first time. Derek Hastings has been coming here for 3 years. Always cruel. Last year, he screamed at Tommy until the kid cried in the walk-in. Tommy quit the next day. Why does Gregory let him come back? Money. Rosie spat the word. Men like Hastings think they can buy the right to hurt people. Claire touched her watch. The metal was warm against her skin. She remembered who she'd been, what she'd built, what she'd lost, what she'd hidden while Derek Hastings treated her like furniture. She pulled out her phone. "What are you doing?" Rosie asked. "Calling someone who can help." The phone rang twice. Jonathan Pierce. "Jonathan, it's Claire Donovan." Silence. Then Claire. "It's been 2 years. Are you okay?" "No. I need the Hastings file. All of it. By tonight." Hastings Global Technologies. "Yes. Claire, what's going on?" "Something I should have done a long time ago. Can you send it?" "Give me 3 hours." Claire hung up. She looked at Rosie. "Can you give me a ride home?" Rosie studied her face. Whatever she saw there made her nod. "Let's go." Claire's apartment in Queens was small. 1 room. A bed that folded out from the wall. A kitchen barely big enough to turn around in. She'd moved here after the legal bills emptied her bank accounts. After the Tribeca penthouse got sold to pay lawyers who couldn't save her reputation. Her laptop sat on the counter. At 9 p.m., Jonathan's email arrived. Encrypted. Claire entered the password and watched files download. Stock certificates. Trust agreements. Corporate bylaws. 7 years of documentation. She spread them across her floor. 7 years ago, Claire had been looking for investments. She'd found Hastings Global Technologies when it was struggling. The stock price had tanked. The board was fighting. Derek Hastings had just taken over as CEO. Claire saw what others missed. The company wasn't dying. It was transforming. She'd run the numbers, studied the market, analyzed the competition. Hastings Global was undervalued by 40%, so she'd bought in. Not as Claire Donovan. Her name would have triggered disclosure requirements. She'd used blind trusts, shell corporations, legal structures that kept her identity hidden, layer after layer of protection. She'd invested $12 million, everything she had at the time. Over 7 years, Derek Hastings had rebuilt the company. The stock price climbed. 40% became 60, then 80, then doubled. Claire's investment grew with it. 12 million became 24, then 50, then 70. Now, for years after Marcus Webb destroyed her life, Claire Donovan owned 60.3% of Hastings Global Technologies, worth $94 million. Derek Hastings worked for her. He just didn't know it. Claire found the corporate bylaws. She read them slowly. Twice, then a third time. Shareholders controlling more than 60% could call emergency meetings. They could remove officers. They could restructure the board without warning. Section 7.4 jumped out at her. The CEO may be terminated without cause by a vote of shareholders holding 60% or more voting stock. Claire's hands stopped shaking. She picked up her phone. "Jonathan, I need 3 more people. Rachel Kim, Thomas Gray, and a process server. What are you planning?" "Derek Hastings has a board meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm going to attend." Claire's phone rang at 11 p.m. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then something made her press accept. Claire Donovan. The voice was smooth, familiar, like poison wrapped in silk. Her blood went cold. "Marcus, I saw an interesting incident report from the Sterling Hall tonight. Assaulted waitress named Claire Donovan. I wonder what happened to you after the trial. Now I know. Serving tables. How the mighty fall. What do you want?" "I work for Hastings Global now. Chief Financial Officer. Started 3 months ago. Funny how the world works, isn't it?" Claire's mind raced. Marcus was Derek's CFO. That meant he had access to everything. Books, accounts, records. "Derek doesn't know who you are yet," Marcus continued. "But I do. And I remember how you operate. Those blind trusts. Those hidden investments. I bet you own a piece of Hastings Global, don't you? Claire said nothing. That's what I thought. Here's how this works, Claire. You walk away. You let Derek fire you. You take your bruised face and your shame and you disappear. Again. Or what? Or I make sure everyone remembers why you really left Wall Street. Your mother still lives in Hoboken, right? Goes to St. Margaret's every Sunday. Be a shame if rumors reached her church group. If people started asking questions about her daughter the thief. I was cleared. Doesn't matter. Mud sticks. You know that better than anyone. Marcus was protecting himself. He'd found something at Hastings Global worth protecting, which meant he was stealing again. Stay away from our mother. Then stay away from Derek Hastings. Marcus hung up. Claire sat in the dark. Her cheek throbbed. Her apartment was silent. Outside, Queens hummed with late-night traffic. She opened her laptop again. Claire didn't sleep. She made calls instead. First, Jonathan Pierce. I need you at Hastings Global Headquarters tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Bring the ownership documents. Notarized. I want proof Derek can't argue with. Second, Rachel Kim. Rachel, it's Claire. I need a forensic audit. Hastings Global Technologies. Focus on the CFO's transactions. His name is Marcus Webb. You remember him. Rachel's voice went hard. Marcus Webb is alive. And stealing again. Can you find it? Give me the account access codes. I'll find everything. Third, Thomas Gray. Retired SEC investigator. Friend from her Wall Street days. One of 3 people who believed she was innocent. Thomas, I need a favor. Big one. Name it. Marcus Webb is CFO at a company called Hastings Global Technologies. I think he's embezzling. Can you pull his records? If he's stealing, I can build a case. You sure about this, Claire? Very sure. I'll make some calls. At 4 a.m., Rachel called back. Found it. $8.3 million, missing over 12 weeks. Marcus is good, but I'm better. He's using the same offshore structures he used to frame you. Cayman accounts. Ghost transactions. I can prove every dollar. At 6 a.m., Thomas confirmed. SEC will prosecute if you provide evidence. I've got 3 agents ready to move. Claire stood in her tiny apartment as the sun rose over Queens. Her face hurt. Her body was exhausted, but her mind was crystal clear. Derek Hastings had a board meeting at 9 a.m. Claire would be there. Hit subscribe if you feel that tension building. Christmas morning arrived cold and bright. Claire stood in front of her closet at 6 a.m. She owned one power suit. Navy blue. She bought it 3 years ago for a final court appearance. The day the judge cleared her name. She hadn't worn it since. The fabric felt strange against her skin. Foreign. Like putting on armor she'd forgotten how to wear. She looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. The bruise on her cheek had darkened overnight. Purple and angry. She didn't cover it with makeup. Let them see what Derek Hastings had done. Her phone rang. Rosie's name lit up the screen. Claire, honey. I'm so sorry. Gregory called me this morning. He fired you. Made it official. Said Mr. Hastings insisted. Claire sat on her bed. It's okay, Rosie. It's not okay. That man assaulted you, and you're the one who loses your job. I know, but today I'm going to a different kind of service. What does that mean? It means Derek Hastings is about to learn something important. Claire, I have to go. Thank you for everything, Rosie. You were kind to me when I needed it. Claire hung up before Rosie could ask more questions. At 7 a.m., Jonathan Pierce knocked on her door. He carried a leather briefcase. His suit was expensive. His face was serious. Behind him stood Rachel Kim. She'd aged since Claire had seen her last. More gray in her hair, but her eyes were sharp as ever. You're really doing this? Jonathan asked. He slapped me in front of 12 witnesses, then got me fired. Yes, I'm really doing this. Rachel set her laptop on the counter. I've got everything. Bank records, transaction logs, offshore account numbers. Marcus Webb has stolen $8.3 million over 12 weeks. Same pattern he used at your firm. He's not even trying to be creative. Will it hold up in court? Claire asked. Absolutely. I've cross-referenced every transaction. Time-stamped. Authenticated. The SEC will prosecute. Jonathan opened his briefcase. Inside were documents. Thick stacks of them. Stock certificates. Trust agreements. Corporate bylaws. Notarized and authenticated. You own 60.3% of Hastings Global Technologies. Derek Hastings can't dispute it. This is bulletproof. Claire looked at the documents. Her hands trembled. She thought about her father, about the watch he'd given her, about what he'd taught her. Some people mistake kindness for weakness, Claire Bear. Show them the difference. She picked up the framed photo from her nightstand. Her father's face smiled back at her. He died 6 years ago, before Marcus, before the trial, before everything fell apart. He'd never seen her lose everything, but he'd taught her how to survive it. Let's go, Claire said. The 47th floor of Hastings Global Headquarters overlooked all of Manhattan. The boardroom had windows on 3 sides. Central Park spread out to the north. The Hudson River glittered to the west. From up here, the city looked small, manageable, like something you could control. Derek Hastings stood at the head of a mahogany table. 8 board members sat in leather chairs. Coffee steamed in expensive mugs. Pastries sat untouched on silver trays. Merry Christmas, everyone. Derek smiled. I know it's unusual to meet on Christmas Day, but I wanted to share the quarterly numbers before year-end. We're up 34%. Profits exceeded projections by $18 million. Your bonuses reflect that success. The board members smiled. Money made everything acceptable. Marcus Webb sat at Derek's right hand. He looked relaxed, confident. His laptop was open. Financial reports glowed on the screen. Board member Linda Chin sat across the table. She was 53, Harvard MBA, 20 years of corporate experience. She'd voted against Derek's CEO appointment 7 years ago. She'd been outvoted. Before we celebrate, Linda said, I want to address the incident at the Sterling Hall last night. Derek's smile tightened. A minor issue, already resolved. You assaulted a restaurant employee. I corrected an incompetent server who destroyed a $15,000 suit. The restaurant has been notified of pending legal action. You slapped a woman, Derek. I defended myself against negligence. Derek's voice went cold. Stick to the numbers, Linda. That's what you're good at. 2 board members shifted uncomfortably. The others stayed silent. Linda's mouth pressed into a thin line. Derek turned back to his presentation. Now, as I was saying about Q4 performance. The boardroom doors opened. Claire walked in first. Jonathan and Rachel flanked her. Behind them, Thomas Gray showed his SEC credentials to security. Every head turned. Derek's face went from confused to angry in 2 seconds. What the hell? Security. Claire's voice came out calm. Steady. Section 4.2 of your corporate bylaws. Any shareholder controlling more than 50% of voting stock can attend and call votes at any board meeting without prior notice. She walked to the table, set down her briefcase, opened it with steady hands. My name is Claire Donovan. I own 60.3% of Hastings Global Technologies through the Meridian Trust, established in 2018. She placed documents on the table. Stock certificates. Notarized. Authenticated. Undeniable. I am your majority shareholder. Jonathan stepped forward. These documents have been verified by 3 independent law firms. Ms. Donovan's ownership is legitimate and legally binding. Derek's face drained of color. He grabbed the nearest document. His hand shook as he read. That's impossible. It's very possible, Claire said. I invested $12 million 7 years ago when your stock was undervalued. That investment is now worth $94 million. You've done excellent work growing this company, Mr. Hastings. Unfortunately, you've also demonstrated a severe lapse in judgment. She turned to face him fully. The bruise on her cheek caught the morning light. Last night, you assaulted me in a public restaurant, in front of 12 witnesses. Then you had me fired. Rachel moved to the table. She handed folders to each board member. I'm Rachel Kim, certified forensic accountant. This report details $8.3 million in missing funds over the past 12 weeks. The theft was perpetrated by your chief financial officer, Marcus Webb. Marcus stood fast. His chair skidded backward. This is insane. Claire Donovan is a criminal. She was investigated for embezzlement. Claire didn't look at him. I was framed by Marcus Webb in 2021. He embezzled $47 million from our investment firm, destroyed evidence, and blamed me. I was cleared of all charges in 2023. The settlement is public record. You can verify it. Thomas Gray stepped to the doorway. He blocked Marcus's exit. Marcus Webb, I'm Thomas Gray, SEC investigator. We've opened a formal investigation into your financial activities. I recommend you sit down. Marcus's face went white. The boardroom erupted. Questions. Accusations. Shock. Board members flipped through Rachel's report. Pages of evidence. Bank records. Transaction logs. Offshore accounts. $8.3 million tracked to the penny. Linda Chen looked up from her folder. Her face was hard. These documents show Marcus Webb used the same embezzlement structure he used to frame Ms. Donovan. The trust predates Derek's CEO appointment by 2 years. This isn't revenge. This is justice. Derek grabbed the edge of the table. Even if this is all true, and I'm not saying it is, you can't just walk in here and take over my company. It's not your company, Claire said softly. It's mine. I own 60%. You work for me. You just didn't know it until you decided to slap me. Marcus tried one more play. He turned to Derek. She's been stalking you. She bought those shares to control you. She spilled wine on purpose to set this up. The Meridian Trust was established in 2018, Linda Chen said. She held up the documentation. Derek became CEO in 2019. The timeline doesn't support your accusation. She's manipulating all of you. Marcus's voice climbed. Claire Donovan is a con artist. Rachel opened her laptop. Mr. Webb, would you like to explain wire transfer ZX 4729? $50,000 from Hastings Global's operating account to a Cayman corporation registered under your sister's name. That transaction occurred 6 days ago. Marcus went silent. Or transfer ZX 4891, $120,000. Or any of the 73 other fraudulent transactions documented in this report. Thomas Gray spoke from the doorway. Marcus Webb, you have the right to remain silent. I strongly suggest you exercise that right and contact an attorney. Marcus sat down slowly. His face was gray. He knew the walls were closing in. Derek stared at Claire, at the bruise on her face, at the documents spread across his boardroom table, at the woman he'd called incompetent trash 12 hours ago. You planned this, he whispered. No, Claire said. I invested in a good company 7 years ago. You built something successful. I benefited from your work. That was our arrangement. Then you decided to hurt me. That changed everything. Derek's hand stopped shaking. His face hardened. He'd built this company from nothing. He'd survived hostile takeovers and market crashes and board rebellions. He wasn't going down because of some waitress with a clever lawyer. Even if this is all legitimate, Derek said, standing straighter. You can't remove me. I built this company. I've given 15 years of my life, to Hastings Global. The stock price is up 34%. Profits exceeded projections. You need cause to terminate a CEO, not just hurt feelings. He pulled out his phone. Dialed. Michael, it's Derek Hastings. I need you at my office immediately. We're being ambushed. Michael Brennan, Derek's personal attorney, the man who'd negotiated his employment contract, who'd protected him through 2 divorce settlements and 3 shareholder disputes. Derek turned back to the board. His voice was calm now, controlled. Here's what's actually happening. Claire Donovan orchestrated this entire situation. She spilled wine on me deliberately. She planned this assault allegation. This is elaborate revenge from a failed analyst who couldn't handle her own criminal investigation. 3 board members nodded. They were Derek's appointments, men who owed their positions to him. She served tables for 4 years. Derek continued. That's not rebuilding. That's hiding. And now she shows up here claiming ownership through shell corporations and blind trusts. That's exactly what criminals do. They hide assets. They manipulate systems. Board member William Porter spoke up. Derek has a point. The timing seems suspicious. Very suspicious, Derek agreed. She bought stock 7 years ago and stayed silent, never attended a meeting, never voted on anything. Then suddenly appears the day after I complain about her incompetence? This is harassment. Lindichin shook her head. The documentation is legitimate, Derek. 3 law firms verified it. Documentation can be forged. Shell corporations can be fabricated. I'm not saying she did it. I'm saying we need time to verify everything before making rash decisions. My attorney will be here in 20 minutes. We can sort this out properly. For board members loyal to Derek, 3 neutral. Linda clearly supported Claire. The room was divided. Derek pressed his advantage. Who do you trust? A CEO who's delivered record profits for 7 years? Or a woman who got investigated for embezzlement, lost everything, and now claims to own 60% of my company the day after I fired her? He looked at each board member. I made a mistake last night. I lost my temper. I shouldn't have touched her. But that doesn't change the fact that I built this company. That doesn't make me a criminal. And it certainly doesn't justify this corporate coup. Lindichin raised her hand. Before we go any further, there's something the board needs to see. She stood, walked to the presentation screen, connected her phone. The Sterling Hall has security cameras. They sent me the footage this morning. Derek's face went white. Linda, that's not. Sit down, Derek. The video started playing. Wide angle. High quality. The private dining room at the Sterling Hall. Timestamp, December 24th, 2024, 8:47 p.m. Claire moved through the frame. Her tray was balanced, professional, careful. Then her heel caught. The bottle tilted. Wine spilled across Derek's lap. You incompetent trash. Derek's voice came through the speakers. Clear, loud, furious. Claire's hand shook in the video. I'm so sorry, Mr. Hastings. Let me. Don't touch me. Do you have any idea what you've done? This suit cost more than you make in 6 months. The board watched in silence. Claire apologized again, offered to pay. Derek laughed at her. Then his hand moved. Open palm. Connected with Claire's face. The sound echoed through the boardroom speakers, just like it had echoed through the restaurant. Claire's head snapped to the side. The bruise was already forming when she looked back up. You'll be lucky if you're not paying a lawyer when I sue this dump, Derek said on screen. I'll destroy you. You're nothing. The video stopped. The boardroom was silent. Jonathan Pierce stood. Section 7.4 of your corporate bylaws. Assault of a shareholder constitutes immediate cause for termination. Ms. Donovan has grounds for both corporate action and criminal prosecution. The video provides irrefutable evidence of both assault and verbal abuse. Derek's voice came out strangled. I didn't know she was a shareholder. Claire looked at him. Her voice was soft. Sad. You didn't know I was a human being. Claire reached under her sleeve. She unclasped the watch. The Patek Philippe that she'd hidden for 4 years. She placed it on a mahogany table. This watch is worth $140,000, she said. More than your entire bonus package, Derek. My father gave it to me the day I opened my investment firm. The day I became something more than just smart. The day I became successful. She turned the watch over. An engraving caught the light. Integrity outlasts cruelty. He had that engraved before he died. He wanted me to remember that character isn't for sale. That dignity matters more than money. Derek stared at the watch. You mentioned your emergency board meeting last night. Claire continued. Christmas Day, 9 a.m. You gave me exactly 24 hours to prepare. My team used every minute. We gathered evidence. We authenticated documents. We built a case you couldn't argue with. Jonathan opened another folder. Bylaw Section 7.4. CEO removal requires either a 60% shareholder vote or a unanimous board vote for cause. Ms. Donovan controls 60.3%. She can remove you unilaterally, but she chose to bring this to the board instead, to give you a fair process. Rachel Kim stood. We also found additional evidence. Derek, you approved 17 of Marcus Webb's suspicious transactions over the past 12 weeks. Your signature is on transfer authorizations totaling $2.1 million. You either knew about the embezzlement or failed to perform basic oversight. Derek's face went gray. I signed hundreds of authorizations. I can't review every. These were flagged by your own compliance department. Rachel interrupted. You overrode their concerns. Twice. Thomas Gray spoke from the doorway. The SEC opened an investigation based on evidence submitted by Ms. Donovan's team. We'll be examining Derek Hastings' role in the embezzlement scheme. Possible charges include negligence, complicity, or obstruction. Linda Chin stood. I motion for an executive session. Derek and Marcus need to leave while the board deliberates. You can't do this, Derek said. It's in the bylaws. Section 6.8. Executive sessions can be called by any board member when conflicts of interest exist. You and Marcus both have direct conflicts. You need to leave. Derek looked at the other board members. None of them met his eyes. Fine. He grabbed his jacket. My lawyer will tear this apart. Marcus followed him out. Security closed the doors behind them. The boardroom was quiet. Claire sat in a chair outside. Jonathan sat beside her. You've done everything right. Now it's their choice. Claire's hands shook. She reached for a water bottle. The adrenaline was crashing. For years of hiding. For years of silence. For years of being invisible. It all came flooding back. She remembered the first time Derek Hastings had come to the Sterling Hall. 3 years ago. January. He'd ordered the same wine. Chateau Margaux. She'd served him perfectly. He hadn't looked at her face. She'd recognized him immediately. Known he was running her company. Known she could reveal herself right then. But she'd chosen silence. Chosen dignity. Chosen to let him run the company she'd funded while she rebuilt her life, quietly. Until he chose violence. Until he decided she was worth less than the wine staining his suit. That's when silence stopped being dignity and started being surrender. The boardroom doors opened. Subscribe if this story moved you. Linda Chen's face was unreadable. Claire, Derek, Marcus, please come in. The three of them walked back into the boardroom. Derek's lawyer had arrived. Michael Brennan stood beside his client. His expression was grim. Linda remained standing. The board has reached a decision. Derek's jaw clenched. We voted on Derek Hastings' termination for cause. The vote was 7-1 in favor of immediate termination. 1 abstention. Derek's face crumbled. You're destroying me for one mistake. Board member Robert Wallace spoke. He was 63. Former federal judge. He'd been quiet through the entire meeting. "Mr. Hastings, you assaulted someone. On video. With audio. In front of witnesses. That's not a mistake. That's a character revelation. It shows us who you are when you think nobody's watching who matters." Linda continued. "Additionally, we're terminating Marcus Webb effective immediately. Authorities have been notified. A full forensic audit will be initiated. We're also implementing new oversight protocols for all financial transactions exceeding $50,000. Derek's lawyer stepped forward. "My client's employment contract includes a severance package of $0, Linda interrupted. "Termination for cause voids the golden parachute. It's in Section 12.3 of his contract. Your firm negotiated those terms. His stock options. Forfeited. All unvested options are canceled per the equity compensation agreement." Derek's voice came out hoarse. "I've given 15 years to this company. And we compensated you appropriately," Linda said. "You made $37 million in salary and bonuses. You built something successful. But character matters more than competence. You crossed a line that can't be uncrossed." Jonathan stood. "Ms. Donovan reserves the right to press criminal assault charges. She hasn't decided yet." Claire rose slowly. The bruise on her cheek stood out under the boardroom lights. 8 faces turned toward her. "I don't want Derek's job," she said. "I don't want revenge." Derek scoffed. "Could have fooled me." Claire ignored him. She addressed the board. "I have 5 requirements. If you meet them, I'll remain a silent shareholder. I'll vote remotely. You'll barely know I exist." Linda nodded. "We're listening." "First, appoint Linda Chun as interim CEO. She's the most qualified person in this room." Linda blinked. "Claire, I don't." "You voted against Derek 7 years ago. You saw what he was before anyone else did. You were right. This company needs someone who leads with integrity. That's you." Claire continued. "Second, mandatory harassment training for all employees. Department heads. Management. Everyone. What happened to me happens to service workers every day. It needs to stop." Third, establish a $2 million fund. Call it the Service Workers Dignity Initiative. Use it to support restaurant employees facing workplace abuse, legal fees, counseling, job placement, whatever they need. Board members nodded. Several took notes. Fourth, issue a public statement acknowledging the incident without naming me. Something like, "A senior executive was terminated for assault. The company has 0 tolerance for violence." That kind of thing. It sends a message. Fifth, prosecute Marcus Webb fully. Recover every dollar he stole. Use those recovered funds to repay any employees or shareholders who were harmed. Claire sat down. "That's it. Meet those 5 requirements, and you'll never hear from me again, except at quarterly votes." Derek stood. His face was red. "You orchestrated this whole—" Claire cut him off. Her voice was steel. "I invested in a good company 7 years ago. You built something successful. I benefited from your work. That was our arrangement. It worked perfectly. Then you hurt someone. You chose violence because you thought you could, because you thought I was nobody. Those are separate facts. You made your choice. Now you face your consequences." Security appeared in the doorway. 2 men in dark suits. "Escort Mr. Hastings and Mr. Webb from the building," Linda said. "Box up their personal items. They can collect them tomorrow." Derek grabbed his phone. "My lawyers will bury you, Claire." Claire met his eyes. "They're welcome to try. I have 60% voting power. Video evidence. 8 witnesses. For years of learning how to fight from the bottom. Good luck." Marcus said nothing. His face was pale. He knew what was coming. Federal charges. Prison time. His second embezzlement scheme would be his last. The elevator doors closed on Derek's stunned face. Thomas Gray approached Claire. Marcus Webb will be arrested within 72 hours. SEC coordination with the U.S. Attorney's Office. The evidence is overwhelming. Jonathan gathered his documents. Claire, your legal protections are ironclad. The ownership structure is bulletproof. Derek can hire every lawyer in Manhattan. He'll lose. Linda Chin reviewed the numbers. Derek loses $4.7 million in unvested stock options. His reputation in corporate America is finished. Nobody will hire him after this. Claire stood at the window. Manhattan spread out below her. 47 floors up. She could see the Sterling Hall from here. The restaurant where Derek had slapped her 18 hours ago. What about assault charges? Thomas asked. Claire touched her cheek. The bruise was fading already. No, the slap cost him everything. His job, his money, his reputation. That's enough. I don't need revenge. I needed justice. There's a difference. Claire's new office overlooked Central Park. Not at Hastings Global Technologies. Her own firm, Donovan Advisory Group. The name she'd buried 4 years ago was back on glass doors and business cards. She'd kept her shares in Hastings Global, 60.3%. But she joined the board as a non-executive director. She attended quarterly meetings, voted remotely on major decisions. Let Linda Chin run the company without interference. Linda was thriving. Stock price up 12% in 3 months. Employee satisfaction scores doubled. The company had purpose now beyond just profit. Claire had done something else too. She bought 30% ownership stake in the Sterling Hall. Not to control it, to protect it. Staff profit sharing. Banned customer list for abusive behavior. Higher wages. Better benefits. Rosie managed front of house now. Her salary had tripled. You didn't have to do this, she'd said when Claire told her. Yes, I did. You saw me when I was invisible. That matters. Gregory, the manager who'd fired her, had apologized. Cried, actually. Claire rehired him on one condition. Complete a year-long empathy training program. Learn to protect staff instead of important customers. He'd agreed. Marcus Webb was in federal prison. 8-year sentence for embezzlement. The recovered funds, $6.2 million, went to affected shareholders and employees. Derek Hastings was unemployed. His reputation destroyed. Every corporate board in America had blacklisted him. He'd applied for 14 CEO positions. 0 interviews. The video had leaked somehow. Social media did the rest. Claire's LinkedIn notification pinged. A message from someone named Amy Chun in Chicago. I saw what you did. My boss assaulted me last week. Nobody believes me. Can you help? Claire stared at the message. She remembered her own face in the Sterling Hall bathroom mirror. The bruise forming. The fear that nobody would care. That powerful man always won. She typed back. Yes. Let's talk. A new purpose was forming. Bigger than just her own justice. She had $94 million. She had a platform. She had a story people were listening to. Maybe she could protect others the way nobody had protected her. Christmas Eve, 1 year later. Claire walked into the Sterling Hall as a guest. Reservations under her name. She wore a dress instead of a uniform. Her Patek Philippe watch caught the light. Rosie appeared with menus. She smiled. Good evening, Miss Donovan. Your table is ready. They looked at each other. Role reversal complete. Both of them had survived. Both of them had won. Snow fell on Fifth Avenue outside. The same snow that had fallen a year ago. But everything was different now. Claire touched her cheek. The bruise had faded months ago. But the scar it left behind had changed everything. Some scars don't destroy you. Some scars show you exactly who you are. And who you are strong enough to become. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for stories of dignity, justice, and the power you don't see coming.